Okay, so the interview you're about to see is with Josh Moore, aka Josh the Ginger Marketer. I discovered him in 2020 when TikTok was like at its height and COVID hit. And I just loved everything that he was saying, how he was presenting himself, and just honestly, he was just solving problems for people. And that's why his account grew so fast, so quickly. And I've wanted to connect to him for years. Like literally, it's been 4 years. And I finally just asked and he made it happen. He has a baby girl who's about 8 months and a 2-year-old son, and he's traveling with his wife. They sold their house, and he is basically in the framework of working smarter, not harder. And he can help you as an entrepreneur do that as well. Look into his program, see if this interview aligns with you at all. But I love everything about him and what he's doing. And I appreciate the time that he took to kind of sit with me and give me a little come to Jesus speech. Enjoy. So for people that don't know who Josh is, aka the Ginger Marketer, I discovered you in 2020 with it when I think a lot of people did, right? Like around that COVID time, I think was when you literally took off so quickly. I was watching your account grow. Can you tell people like who you are and where all of this came from?
Oh, geez. Wow. Those are the days, right? Taking it back to
Right.
2020. I saw something online. It's like, oh, I can't believe like the C word was 4 years ago. It's oh, it's like 10 years ago. I was like, what? There's like this theory going around that 2020 since then or 2020, it's just like time has just gone really fast. But anyway,
Yes,
yeah.
I feel that
So
though. I feel that.
I was like, to be honest, I was, where you must have come, well, it was 2020, yeah. So when you found me, I was probably just starting out on TikTok, and that first 6 months was just skyrocket, right? Before that, I'd actually tried TikTok a few times, and I just failed miserably. There's like old accounts of me just dancing on rooftops in Thailand when I was traveling with my wife, and I was trying to be this like influencer. But anyway, I COVID hit obviously, and I was just like, I want to do something, not just kind of sit around. And I was working a 9 to 5 at the time. One of my old jobs had taken me on, and it was a sales job, and it wasn't the most fun. So I was like, oh, I'll go on TikTok because that's what everyone was talking about. And like, I was just like, what do I even do here? Like, growing up with Facebook, I grew up with from like 90s. Well, when what was it, 2006, when I went to uni, and I still get memories today saying, "Hey, you going out tonight?" And like you posting on people's walls and stuff. So I was like, "Hey, I'm pretty savvy with technology," but TikTok was just I couldn't figure it out. So I did these follow for follow parties, and that didn't really work out. And then I just started kind of thinking, well, if I just create the content that I'm learning, like how to go live and all that kind of stuff, maybe some people will like me, same problems, right? And then yeah, things just took off from there. And I remember I still had this wall chart, and I was tracking every 1,000 followers, every 1,000 likes, and I used to every single day put it in this tracker. And then suddenly I was like, I couldn't keep up. It's like, so I got like my first 100,000 followers in 6 months. And then, funnily enough, TikTok actually reached out to me because they wanted to do like a live, um, where we'd go through like the analytics training and stuff. So I did a training with them. It was an hour-long training. We had 120,000 people tune in live, or like throughout it, and I gained like 37,000 followers in 1 hour. And then like
Oh my
so getting
God.
the yeah, so then getting the next 100,000 followers took about a week. And I was just, oh my god. And then it just exploded from there. And yeah, it was pretty
It
crazy.
was
And
crazy.
all I was doing was just like answering questions. And I mean, given I was probably in the time when TikTok was in that infancy and it was just kind of growing, and it almost like every person and their hamster and their dog could go viral. And it's true, they could, right? But
Hmm.
that's not to downplay that. I wasn't. I didn't. I knew what I was doing in a way, and I just doubled down on it. So I think now I'm at like 800,000.
Well,
I haven't
and
been.
you did an amazing job.
Yeah, of course, right? I mean, to get nearly a million followers is
Right. And you've used it as a marketing tool now
yeah.
for your programs that you have. And then you also offer one-on-one sessions. What is it that you offer to people? You help them with what?
Yeah, so it's a good question. I've gone through a transition over the past year through like various, probably just becoming a dad was the main thing. So I used to be like a scale bro, and I was like, people used to reach out to me to help them with TikTok. So I used to do one-on-one sessions, right? And again, I was charging like $25 for an hour of coaching because I didn't know any different. I thought, wow, $25, that's like a fair decent bit of money. Then I hired a coach. Who's like, well, to charge $250. I'm like, what? That's crazy. You can't do that. So initially, I was just helping everyone grow on TikTok. Had like a do one-on-one coaching. It was mainly, but then I found out that I was on 20, 30 hours of coaching calls a week plus sales calls, and I was just like, I can't. This isn't doable. It was doable when I wasn't a dad. To ask my wife differently now. She was like, yeah, I just hardly didn't see you, but I was just so into it. And then that went into like helping businesses with TikTok. And then I did like I went into like real estate, and the question is like, well, why? I always kind of ask myself this question. I had a few investors that I was working with and did really well, and a few realtors, and they kept reaching out to me. It's like, evergreen niche. They've got the money. I mean, if I just get them like one, maybe two house sales, depending on their area, they can pay for it. So it's almost like a no-brainer. So I ran that offer and, scaled it to like high six figures. Had like at one point like 60, 70 people in. And now it's a bit different because I'm finding that I still like TikTok and I enjoy social media and I use it as a marketing channel, but I feel I've learned so much more about growing businesses, and people were reaching out to me saying, "Hey, Cal, what's my pricing? Can you help me with my office? Can you help me? What kind of group coaching do you have? How do you hire your team? How do you manage your team and everything?" So I was like, well, if that's their next problem, why don't I solve for that next problem as well? Because I can get them the traffic, I can get them the leads, I can get them the clients, but they don't know how to deliver it, right? So then people started reaching out to me. So now I've got like an offer, which TikTok is still part of it, but it's more just you say it's more like a business coaching offer. So it's basically when I just help people scale lean, profitable businesses, not a big team, no sales calls. It's really just 1-2 posts a day and 95% plus profits, right? Purely because I'm living this lifestyle now where I'm living on the road, my family, my 2-year-old boy, my 8-month-old girl, my wife, my dog, and we just travel. And I work 3-hour days, 4-hour days sometimes. Sometimes I don't even work. I've got a team of one. He works part-time as like a VA, right? And profits are just like five figures, right? Scaling up to 6. So, TikTok's part of that.
How hard is it to get into that program with you? Because I know you just started a new program.
Yeah,
Is it
pretty easy.
Are you accepting new people? Are you doing it
Yeah.
as like group coaching, or how are you doing this where you're only working 3 to 4 hours a day and now you can travel with your family?
Yeah, it's a great question. And it's the way that whereas before I used to do one-on-one, right? And that was just burnout because I couldn't physically this is my old offer, right? So I'll go through the phases, right? I couldn't scale that because I used to offer 3 coaching calls a week. So I could only work with like maybe 10 clients at a given time. So I was always capped. Then that meant I couldn't create content to get more clients in. So it was that roller coaster up and down revenue. Okay. And then the second one, I did a group coaching offer and that was fine. And they got results. Most people got results, but I didn't really offer any like one-on-one with that. So it's just all group. So even if you wanted to go faster, you could afford to pay more. I'm just going to pitch the group offer. So then what I've created now, it's almost like you could call it a hybrid, but you could call it almost like a tiered approach. So it's still the same offer. I'll help. The offer right now is that I'd help people get the first 10,000 in 16 months and then show you how to make that recurring every month and then every week and basically kind of take it from there, ultimately helping them scale to like 7 figures. But it's one offer, but it's just different approaches. So you can come in. I make it very easy to get started because I haven't got the sales calls. It was $100. I just put it up to $150 a week, right? No contracts, no tie-in, nothing like that. No promises, no guarantees. Just, hey, if you want to join, you join. If you don't like it, you can leave. But if you leave, you can't work with me again for another 12 months. So you're almost like locked out. But people pay, yeah. But then I open the doors usually once a month, just to like 10 people. So I let those 10 people in. If the doors are open, they're open. If that gets filled out, they're closed. The reason being, it's because I want to just focus on those people, and I don't want to just have a free for all because it doesn't move people. Right? We think of in the day and age where you've got urgency and scarcity. I create that because it's doors closed. And once my spots, I've got a certain number in mind. Once I hit that number, I'm just going to cap it out, and it'll be wait list. If you want in, you have to wait for someone to leave, right? Because that just controls the quality of the people that I've got in. Means that we're all I know where people are at on each of their journeys, and it's not just like, hey, I'm going to get a million or 1,000 people in here, and I don't really care about them. I know every single person in my group at the moment. We've got about 17 in there. I know every single person. I know their name, I know where they're at in their business, what they're striving towards, their goals, when they're getting married, all that kind of stuff. And it still keeps that personal touch as if it's one-on-one, but most of them get group coaching. But here's the difference is now it's one offer, but people can pay for more access. So I'm the commodity, people are paying for me. So on a group level, they get like a course, which the courses I only change once and upgrade. Then we get like 2 coaching calls a week, and then we'll get like a group chat, and I'll chime in there once or twice a week, see how everyone is, share wins, that kind of stuff. Then if you want a bit more help, you can get DM support from me. So that just means you can ask me questions one-on-one in the DMs, and I can get back to you and I can kind of like help you. Above that, if you want actually one-on-one time with me on a call, that's a higher tier. So you'd have a higher tier that you'd get. So then you'd actually have a personal one-on-one with me every single week. Then above that, I'd basically do some things for you. So it'd be more of a done for you, but that'd be more of like a JV partnership role where I'd actually create some of your content, your marketing, help kind of build out your offers, your workshops, all that kind of stuff as well. So it's just all based on me being the person, because I found out that on flip side of what it used to be, my family always used to come last. So I'd be work, calls, clients, then maybe I'd spend time with my wife, because I joked about it earlier. Well, now it's the different. My days are optimized for my family and everything else. So if I know that I don't want to take any one-on-one clients, I won't. I'll say, hey, I've only got the group. If I open one-on-one spots, do you want to be first in line? And then I'll reach out to that person. If they still want it, they say yes. If not, we'll just keep on going. So it's building a business around my life rather than the other way around.
I love that. And I'm trying to do that. I had this like epiphany the other day where it's like, my kids are 12 and 13. This is my last chance to be mom. I have a TV and media background, so my job was always first, right? Because like breaking news and like it doesn't stop. It is what it is. And so when I left all of that to do like a boutique small media company, I thought I would work less. Well, I worked more, right? Like they would tell you, mommy's always editing or mommy's always on her phone. And so I was like, this isn't working. It's just not working. And I'm also trying to help people, but I was burning myself out, right? Like, especially I was focusing on like female entrepreneurs that wanted to make better content. And it just wasn't working. I just felt like I was, for whatever reason, attracting people that didn't have the monthly budget, et cetera, et cetera. So I was like, this is just burning me out and it's not working. So I'm at this like weird crossroads now where I want to do the same thing. I just want to focus on my family. How do I like work smarter, not harder? And figure out like, what do I want to offer? What time in my day do I have to devote to this? And how do I want to spend it? So I love that you came to that conclusion and you figured out a way. I feel like I'm like in the muck right now though, of trying to figure out like, what is that for me and where do I stand? Because spending time on these social media videos, I spend too much time on them. You're great. You batch create, your face to camera, boom, boom, boom. Let's get it out and we're done. You don't overthink it. I'm making cover photos. I'm adding captions that like matter, and I'm watching the captions to make sure they're spelled right. I'm doing voiceovers with B-roll. I'm putting way too much effort into social media videos that are not a return on the investment of time that I'm putting towards it. And then I decided to double down on YouTube with the podcast, which is good. And then we can obviously cut that into social videos. I have editors that do that for me. So that's been amazing. Again, that's more of a passion project of me wanting to help other people in this way by reaching out to other people that are doing it. And how can I help you help yourself, essentially? So I'm sort of in this weird space of, I want to just be a creator that gets paid to create, but that is such a big space now, right? It's so overpopulated. I am the draw, like I am the personality, exactly like you want to work with me, et cetera, et cetera. But I also think that for such a long time, I devalued my time. So I'm like, I'm trying to put all the things together. Like, how did you come to the conclusion of, no, my time is valuable and this is what I'm charging, and just stuck with it? Was it an easy choice, or did you have to sort of work up to that?
It was big. It's the difference between easy and simple, right? And I think it's a very simple choice. We just make it hard because it's like you can go in your head all the reasons why I can't do it. And there's this what's called the sunken cost fallacy. If you've ever heard of it, have you ever heard of the sunken cost fallacy before?
No.
It's basically where you put so much time and effort into something that the way of like I could say it's kind of like when you're in a marriage and you're in a marriage for 15, 20 years, like I can't divorce because I've put 15, 20 years of my life to this. And it's because the cost of you that you put everything in, it's more than what the cost of change would be, right? So it outweighs that. So when these people come to me and they say, "Oh, but I've been doing this, I've got social media and like I've built all this kind of stuff as well," it's a very easy decision. You just say, "Okay, cool, I'm going to stop doing that. I'm just going to go try this new thing," right? But it's not simple because well, it's simple, but it's hard because people are just like, but I've got all of this stuff and people know me for this and I'll do this and this. It's like, well, maybe there's people in your audience that want to know you for something else. Okay. So it's just the decision came to me is that I was just on sales call after sales call and I was stuck in my office and I'm just like, these people, one, don't even know me. They don't know, like, I was doing like cold DM. I signed up for a business coach and they hadn't really told me the way that they do things. And it was literally like send messages every day, add friends, Facebook group. And I was like, it's not working. It just didn't feel aligned with me until I was just like, well, what was I good at? I was just good at creating content. And I just created content. I wasn't really thinking about getting clients because that was never my goal when I got started on TikTok, right? But now it's shifted. It's like, oh, one of my old coaches said to me, "It's like, hey, if you don't make like 83,000 this month, I'm not going to no longer coach you." And we were at like 50, 55, so we were kind of close, right? And I'm just like, well, why would you say that? So in my head, he was conditioning me that I need $1 million business, had a sales closer and all this kind of stuff, right? And it was completely toxic. I was spending, yeah, it was just anyway, different story for a different day. But I was just like, you know what? You create a business in a way that like he created my business in his way. But it's like no point did I ever feel that I had control over what I was creating. And we can. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs forget that because they read the books, they see the like podcasts, they see the TikTok videos, and they spend so long following someone else's journey. Not every question is this the journey that I want to go on? Do I want to get to this point where this person is going to? And then so it's there's a
Oh my
point there's a
God, you
one
just, that was it.
there's a
Yes.
there's a point in the road where you've got to stop and ask yourself, what the am I doing? Because the one thing you just said there is like, oh, because it matters. But who does it matter to? It matters to you, right? I need to do these Canva. Other people, they don't care, right? People don't care. Or if you, like, and that's why with my YouTube channel, I've just started. I'm just literally like this, recording to camera. I don't care if my hair's like this, if my beard is white and all over the place. Like, I look a bit of a mess right now, and I'd happily say that, right? Because I don't care. Like, this is me. This is how I am. And we try so hard to put on a front and a show, and it's like, well, why? What does it matter if you wear a black shirt or not black shirt? If your hair's up, if your hair's down, if you haven't got makeup, you have got makeup because people care so much about their own lives. They don't care about you, especially. So that's the way that I think about it. And the decision come. It's a very I wouldn't say it was a hard decision. It was just hard to build up that momentum again because it's trying to even get people to adjust. Like, oh, you're this person now.
Well, and also though, just right. And I think that I do believe in YouTube, and I think that I just have to I came to that conclusion of like, wait, what am I trying so hard for? What am I pushing for? I don't want to do
Yeah,
this. Like I love clients and all, but there gets to be a certain period of time where I can't keep pushing you to help yourself, right? Like I just got to a point where I was like, wait, I just want to do this for myself. I want to build my own brand. And then if
yeah.
I can come up with some sort of a coaching program or something out of that eventually, great. But I want to build my own brand and keep creating. I love creating. I love creating content. My biggest fear has been face to camera, like where I just talk to the camera.
Mm,
And so this month I just turned 49. And so that's the goal, is just to do face to camera, just to talk about the problems I'm solving for myself. Exactly what you said, is
yeah.
because if I'm going through it, someone else is going through it. And so that's the goal this month, because I'm overthinking the content. I'm over editing stuff. I'm over producing stuff because I'm a producer. So it's in the back of my, like, it's subconsciously constant. But I have to realize at some point in time, done is better than perfect. And nobody cares. It's the first thing
Mm,
I tell all my clients. Nobody cares. But for some reason, I can't take my own advice. Like I feel like because I teach people how to do this, mine has to be at this level. Right. And I don't think so. I think I
but who
just have to
says
show
that?
up. I just have to show up. Right.
But who?
My
But
subconscious producer.
yeah, exactly right. And it's like I've done like lots of like CBD and like kind of cognitive behavior therapy and like all this kind of stuff. And it's almost like, well, this belief come from somewhere, so it can get undone. But it's like always just question yourself, like, well, if you're the judge, jury, and executioner, you've got the evidence for and the evidence against. there's certain reasons as to why you don't want to show your face on camera, because you believe something may or may not happen, right? Or people may or may not think something. So in a weird way, what you're trying to do, and this is it's interesting. Early, there's one thing that I touched upon, and you said like, hey, like I'm kind of creating to get paid, but I don't do that. I get paid to create. I just create, and people pay me from the creating that I'm doing. So a good example of this is that um, there's people in your audience that probably aren't a good fit for your one high ticket offer. Maybe they can't afford it, or maybe the way you've structured it isn't in a way that is the exact thing that they want. So, for example, mine is I can help you make like 10,000 in 16 weeks, and I can help you do this working less than 4 hours a day, no sales call, and really kind of only creating about 1 or 2 posts a day max. Right? Some people that may not apply from this. They want to still do sales calls, or they may want to work more than 4 hours a day, but they may want to make £10,000 per month or dollars per month. They may not want a big team. They may only want to do one post a day and know exactly what to post instead of running ads or doing networking events. So what I do is that when my doors aren't open, I run like paid workshops or I offer paid trainings to people. So I turn leads into customers, because you might be like, oh, I really want your content strategy that's getting you inbound leads, right? Because that's something that would help for my business. And then if they like the offer, I'd upgrade them into like my client offer. So then I'm just creating, I create workshops and trainings for my actual clients. And then I offer the public, hey, do you want a ticket? $50 or usually like $100 to come in. They buy a ticket. And then I say, do you want to become a client? And some people say yes. Some people are like, no, I just needed this. This is like the one missing piece of my business. Thanks for filling that gap. Right? Because in essence, even you just saying like, hey, I'm creating to get paid, that's thinking that with the end in mind, you're already, I wouldn't say that's authenticity or authentic in a way. It's because there's an ulterior motive there. Now, when we're creating, we're just
Yeah,
creating.
100%.
And if we get paid, we get paid. And that was the big
Yes.
insight that I learned when I first started on TikTok. I'd never even in my wildest dreams thought that I'd be having like a 4 year plus business. And I've had a team and we've made over 7 figures from this. And that was never in my wildest dream, because it was never about that. It was, hey, I've got a problem. Let me create content solving for this problem, because other people may have it. And as a byproduct of that, some people paid me money, but the vast majority, the hundreds of thousands, didn't. Right. So I'm grateful to both, because I'm grateful that I'm able to help those that didn't pay, and I'm grateful that those did pay me. I was blessed with that opportunity to be able to help them as well. So I always say, like, create, get paid to create, because otherwise you're creating to get paid. So you're already thinking like, I want to get paid from this. So that kind of in your head, you kind of think like, oh, I hope I get a lead from this. I hope I get a client from this. And that kind of almost like you get upset when it doesn't happen. Right. And oh, another post, I didn't get a lead. Another post, I didn't get a client. So that's the way that I think about it anyway. It's a different mindset, because then I'm not like disappointed, because it's like, I don't need clients. One thing I always say to a lot of my clients is like, they need me more than I need you. Like, I don't need you as a client, and I'm happy to just let you go. If you're not showing up, if you're not doing the work and not listening, I'll just let you go. That's fine. Because I'm not here to babysit. I'm not here to babysit anyone. If you want to really change your life and you're willing to invest in it, I don't want to just take your money just for you to just lie to yourself, because you're going to get in a whole lot more pain and hurt from your family and everything. You're here because you want change. So that means you've got to do the work. And a lot of people they will never do that, because they want to keep hold of those clients so bad, because it's validation to them that they're worthy in some way or another, and they're scared that they may not be able to get those clients back again. So their revenue will go down and they won't be able to live all the life that they're living as well. So I don't know, different learnings, and it's taken a while to get to this.
Well, I've learned the power of a no can lead to a bigger yes. So that's been amazing energetically for me. And then I do just want to create. And so I'm that is the refocus, is don't worry about the financial part of it. Everything is fine. Everything is always working out, and it really does always work out. That the right people will find me if I'm genuine in my content, and if I can do the face to camera, which is just not not over planning. Obviously, I can plan my topics and my hooks, like I teach everybody else to do, but just grab the camera, go for a walk and talk. I call them walk and talks. You do them all the time.
Yeah.
Walk and talks I love because it feels like sometimes just something will come to you from the universe or something will come to you from your head where like because you're I think focused on walking and not so much in your head. You can just say the thing. And so I teach other people how to do that. I just need to start doing the thing that I know I'm supposed to be doing. And I don't know why that's so hard as like a producer and creator to just follow my own advice. It's the weirdest space to be in where it's like, I know what to do, but why am I not doing it?
I don't know if you're asking me for the answer, but it's hard, isn't it? I'm trying to think about if there was a time when I wasn't doing it, and
I
I
am.
there was always, but one thing there was always a time for me when I was like, why am I not doing it, right? And a good example of this is where this old like business coach was like, hey, like practice your sales scripts, and I used to sit there and I was like, it's almost like a resentment towards it. I was like, oh, I don't want to keep doing this, and I find that you're always going to face, there's always going to be like an uphill battle if you're not moving in the direction that naturally you feel like you should be going in, right? And it's always going to feel like hard and it's going to feel like I'm beating my head against the wall. And I just found that the more that I was just trying to force it, the more that I was just like one step forward, two steps back. And that, to be honest, I took a big break from TikTok because of that. Is because I knew if I created content, I'd get leads, I'd get calls. And if I had calls, I'd get clients. And if I had clients, I'd have to serve those clients. And there was a point where I didn't want to because it didn't feel that those were the people that I wanted to work or the way that I wanted to work with them. So, so the question, so then it becomes, it's like, well, do I really feel that I'm aligned with every single thing that I'm doing down the path that I wanted to get to? Usually in that case, when you know what it is that you have to do, but you're not doing it, it's just there's a blocker there, right? It's just figuring it out, like what is the blocker, right? And that's just going through each step. Do I want to do this? Does this wake me up in the morning to feel like this is something that I really would do for the next season of my life, 5 years, 10 years, whatever it may be? Because it's never a forever thing. I might go back to sales schools. I might go back to a big team. But the season now, I'm in a freedom mode where I don't want to work. I want high profits. I just spend a lot of time with my family, my young kids traveling. That's my season that I'm in. It's trying to
When
find
you
that line.
sold the house, was that the realization? And were you freaking out at some point in time of like, oh God, I really chose to do this. This is really happening. When the house sold and you're like signing that contract and you've got that RV, at what point were you like, oh shit? Or were you
It's,
like, yes, this is finally happening?
I don't know. It's hard. It still doesn't really feel real because it's been like 2.5 weeks since we've been living in the motorhome. Now it still doesn't feel real. But there was kind of like I think the realization come where I drove past the house and there was like removal trucks like, bringing the family in. But yeah, I don't know. It's one of those kind of surreal things that it feels that we're still on holiday in a weird way. Like because we're just traveling. Like today, I
Uh-huh.
was like running late, and we just had lunch in a big supermarket car park lot, and it's like, well, who does this, right? Yeah,
Right.
it still feels a bit strange. I didn't think it would be as I was all because I was even holding on to something in my house. Like I had two screens, I had like a Mac all upgraded, all this lights, and I was like, "There's no way that I could literally work on the front seat of like a cab right now and just take calls like this." I was like, "I need to be at the desk 8 hours a day," and I'd conditioned myself saying that that's the fact, right? Like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I used to work 9 to 5. Tuesdays, Thursdays, because those are my call days, I used to work 2 till 10. It's like, and sometimes even when we're in the motorhome, it's like 10 past 9. I'm like, I need to work, I need to work, I need to work. It's like, well, why? Because I've just created my own prison for myself. And I found that I was getting work done in an hour, 2 hours that it would take me like 8 hours to do. And I knew that, but I'd still go into my office, right? And I'd still think, oh, I'd stretch it out to 8 hours. But now it's literally impossible. It really is almost impossible because we're moving a lot with my wife. I don't want my wife to look after our two kiddies and the dog because there's a lot of strain and stress on her. So today, like I've got a call with you, I've got an onboarding call next with a client, I've got a one-on-one call, and then tonight I've got like I'll probably do like an hour of like content creation, and that's probably my 4 hours done for the day. I've checked in with clients, that took me about 10 minutes, and then tomorrow I'll have like my calls, my group calls, I'll probably work 4 or 5 hours tomorrow. So yeah, I
Oh
think
my
one day
gosh.
it's
I'm
going to
so proud of you.
it's just going to probably going to kick in at one
It's
point.
huge.
Yeah, it's quite surreal.
Of
I
like,
don't
oh
know.
my God, we're really doing this.
Yeah. It is, and yeah,
So talk to me about Talk to me about TikTok, because I've talked to other creators that were huge, that were getting viral hits, that were getting
Yeah.
a lot of views. And then now something happened, I don't know, where everyone feels like they're getting suppressed views, and or is it just there's just so many people, you can't get the same eyes on your content? Is that depressing for you? Is it like energetically, do you feel like this sucks when you were getting thousands and thousands and thousands of hits, and now I think everybody that had that huge following and that quickness during COVID
Mm.
doesn't have that same energy now with it? Do you feel compelled to even want to keep posting on TikTok?
That is a really good question because it is like I think it becomes valid. It becomes like a validation, and I got so used to it that I almost like I needed it. If a post flopped or it didn't get like the 10,000 or the 100,000 views, I felt like a failure. I felt like, hey, like I failed people. But I then kind of take it back, and I use my own advice, which I tend to do, where it's like the first whenever one of the first modules, one of the first like or like 10-minute mindset things is like just like how many people do you need in a room to one like leave the dream lifestyle that you want? So do you need like 10 clients, 20 clients, 30 clients, 50 clients? Okay, cool. So then how many people outside of that do you need to turn those into clients, right? If you need 10 clients, you probably maybe need like about 100 people in your audience and you've got like a 10% conversion rate. So you need 100 people, right? So then I'm like, well, cool. If you just reach 100 people, the same 100 people over and over, you're guaranteed you're probably going to get the clients that you want. Now, the reason why I say that is because my views have gone down. They're like 800, 1,000. But I felt that for the longest time, one, I just changed lots. It used to be all TikTok, then I went to the real estate. So I've alienated a lot of my brand. I've also switched up office. So again, there's probably people that do know me are just like, well, what do I know you for? What are you doing nowadays? That kind of stuff as well. But I think as any platform, and I knew this was coming with TikTok, it's that when people were just on it, it was just like you could just get viral views for the silliest things. Like, and I get a good example of this is I had a video of me just sitting in front of a wall. I had a video of me sitting in front of a wall and a caption like, if get a million, if this comment gets a million likes, you have to shave your hair. And I just sat there in front of a wall and it got like 400,000 likes. I'm like, this is crazy. Whereas now I don't think it works for that because there's lots of competition, not only from just other creators, but also from the competition in terms of like brands and TikTok themselves. Like you've got TikTok Shop, you've got people now promoting all the products, and it was coming because TikTok had heavily invested so much into the creator fund and giving money away that they have to recoup it back, right? And then you've also got the censorships, and you've also got like all the scarcity and like banning and all this kind of stuff. It scared some people off, but I feel that it's just people are now just monetizing it more and they're putting more money behind it, and it's it's not what it used to be, unfortunately. But then I don't think ever that that's an excuse, and I think a lot of people will hide behind that, and I'm not going to hide behind it and be like, oh yeah, the algorithm, because, and I say this, like the algorithm is just human behavior. So if you can understand psychology and like marketing and how humans interact and behave, I said this to my friend, it's like I could go viral, and I say this with like it's going to sound very egotistical, but like I could go viral, but I don't want to go viral for the wrong reasons. Right? I could do trends. The trend, hey, trend alerts, trends, but it's like, well, why? My clients who are entrepreneurs who want to build a freedom based business, want to sign more leads, get more leads to clients, they probably aren't interested in trends. That doesn't really, because my message now is that stop jumping on the latest trends. Don't do trends and everything. It's because most people will jump on the next biggest secret in marketing and trends. And I even put a post on Facebook yesterday, which is like the one thing, regardless of any trend or secret marketing tool, is just relationships and audience. Right? That will outlast or outdate any trend. And if you build a brand, you build an audience, you can sell everything and anything to them, right? Because in my time, I realized that people were sold on me, and I've had people that paid me money just to be on a call with me, right? That's it. They didn't really do anything. It's like, hey, yeah, I just wanted to like be on a call with you, which is fine, right? It's fine. I don't mind that. But now I'm coming to the realization there's really kind of three key things that people need to be sold on if they're going to turn into a very long-term, high-paying client, which is you. They need to be sold on you, which is your core values, your philosophies, your beliefs, maybe kind of your story that's in there as well. Because I've never really shared my story on TikTok. I'm a bit afraid, right? Like, what are people going to think? Race up, Barbara committed suicide, all this kind of stuff, bullying, and all these kind of things. that I thought, like, I can't talk about that. And that, so they need to fall in love with you. So you need to show up, show who you are, your value, your personality, all this kind of stuff. They also need to fall in love with the way that you do what it is that you do to get the results. So your model or your system. So, for example, like mine is very much organic. You create content, that mainly kind of video because that's my niche. But I do a lot of Facebook. I can do written as well. And the model is like, hey, we do no sales calls. You do 1 week where you've got a client offer, 1 week a customer offer, and this is the way that you kind of set up your business. So that's part two. And the reason why, like I mentioned earlier, like some people have done like DMing or outbound. It's like I didn't align with that. And if I'd have known that and they wanted to build a big team, I wouldn't have wasted all my money on them. So I almost feel a bit of bitter taste in my mouth because I didn't really understand that. And then the third one is your offer. Like, do they believe your offer? If you're here, telling someone who is severely overweight they're going to get a six pack in 2 months, they're not going to believe it. Right, but if you could tell them maybe they'd lose like a point, like a small bit of their body fat, or maybe they'd touch their toes for the first time in 2 months, or something like that, or play with their kids without getting out of breath, that's a bit more believable to them. So they need to fall in love with you. They need to fall in love with your offer, and they need to fall in love with the way and your system or your methods. And I think me bringing a lot more of that into my TikTok, it is pushing all those like kids, because most of mine are kids, because I used to do a lot of the trends, right? Now I'm actually thinking, well, 200 to 300 business owners, if they see that post over and over, those business owners, 200 people paying $150 a week, right? That's just insane. One like 600, that's like 120,000 in monthly to sign those 200 people. So for me, it's about consistency and just showing up and not controlling the controllables, which is how do I show up? How do I continue to give value day in, day out without expecting anything in return? Because it's going to compound, and eventually one day people are going to be like, I'm just going to work with this guy because he's still here 4 years later when the other guys, they're doing AI or they're pushing some like weird stuff or they're not even here. I could list out 5 or 10 of my competitors that went big. One was a radio host and then she just quit. She hasn't posted in 2 years. So it's like, I don't want to let the algorithm win, but like, oh, I'm not going to post anymore. I'm going to create a new account, all that kind of stuff, because I can't control that.
Well, you also know that virality doesn't equal sales all the time either.
Exactly.
Virality is just a numbers game. It doesn't
Exactly.
necessarily get people to say, "Oh, I want to work with this person."
Exactly. Right.
So I had a client who has a salon, and she was like so excited because her videos were going viral. I was like, "That's amazing! How many clients did you book from that?" And she's like,
Yeah.
none. And I'm like, exactly, because you need to talk about you and your why and what makes your salon
Yeah.
different, right? There's thousands of salons. You can throw a penny and hit a salon. But like virality got you nothing. It feels good,
Yeah.
right? Because you feel like it's this fake, people like it. But like it was short, it was easy, it was a trend, and then they switched to the next thing. You know what I mean? I think the other thing that I've noticed is people will support strangers more than the people closest to you in your life will support you. Does that make sense? Like I've got people that won't leave a comment on my video or won't like it, won't save it, won't share it. I'm like, you guys, this is free stuff to do. Like it could change my life if you just do more than flip to the next thing. Press the heart, like it, share, comment, subscribe to the YouTube channel. It fascinates me. And I don't know if you've had this experience as a creator, that the people in your life will support strangers before they support you. Have you seen that with your content at all?
Kind of. I mean, I not. Thing is, I keep a very small network of people, and I do that by choice. Like my phone, I haven't got lots of people, like 10, less than 10 people that I speak to, and they do support me. But I've definitely got like super fans, and I've even got followers that are just like still writing nasty comments. I'm like, you follow me? Like, why? Like, why would you keep saying this?
Right.
You follow me?
Right.
I was like, do you forget that you follow me? Like,
Right.
and so I usually
Exactly.
like unfollow them. So, but I've seen it. I've seen it happen before, and I've heard of that. I don't know. But it's another strange phenomenon, isn't it? I think one thing that shifted me and what made me blow up was just the educational content, and there was a gap. Right, there was a gap. No one was really teaching TikTok to the point where I helped TikTok create videos that they could post to help people use TikTok. Right, I've worked with TikTok on many occasions and created like internal branding and how to use it as a business, and they haven't shared it publicly, but internally. And I think if you want to grow a following, that's great. Like you could just educate people all day, and people will follow. But people buy when they can see the way that you think and you can lead them. And one thing that I've been doing and switching a lot of my content is just the documenting my journey and that building in public and just sharing lessons, wins, failures, but also insights. And the way that I can kind of describe like insight content versus like education based content is that instead of saying like how to, like most of my big observation that I saw of like I've probably got about 40, 50 videos that got over 1 million plus views, and probably a good 80% of them start with how to, right? Versus how I. Here's how I did it, or here's how I was able to make $24,000 this weekend, and just talking about my process, the way that I do it, because that's what's really getting people into like, oh, you're where I want to get to. You're talking about what I shouldn't be doing. You're talking about what I should be doing and how you're doing it. I'll try that, and if it doesn't work, I'll come to you and you can help me implement that as well. Right, so it's sharing more insights into what's working for me, what's not working for me, but also just observations of like, so for example, you said good question. It's like, oh, so what do you think about like TikTok now? And so me sharing my insights, hey, this is the reason why I don't think it's working. This is what you should keep doing, which is stay consistent. Don't worry about the followers and things you can't control. Keep showing up, because if you do want the virality, it's very easy. You just go and steal and look at what other people are doing, right? Simple as that.
Right.
All
100%.
right, you can do it, and you just do it, and you just do it. But most people do it for a week and they'll give up because it doesn't work. So okay, cool, do it for a whole year, and you'll go viral, right? But I'm just like, hey, like my views are low. Here's why I think it's low. Here's what I'm doing to make them higher. And then when they get higher, people can see, well, you know your stuff because you fixed your views, right? So it's sharing more insights into that, and I think that's why, like, hey, the reason why you feel mentally blocked or mentally stuck with where you want to go with your next offer is because you haven't yet found what truly feels aligned, what truly actually like resonates with you. You may have thought you found it because there's been times when you've been happy in your business, but that phased out after you got over that initial excitement, kind of like when you were first dating someone, that honeymoon period. Then you're like, this isn't really what I expected it to be, right? That's the kind of it is. Until then you found the one, and now you're married, and now after 6 months, like, well, I still feel this like love and passion. Well, this is the one. This is the person I'm going to marry, right? And it's how there's the different patterns that still happen across like all human behavior, but it's the same with this, right? Who knows? Maybe in 2 years, this offer from me, I may not be like, oh, you know what? Actually, I want to go back. But that's kind of all it is. So yeah, insight content.
Right. Well, I think it's also giving myself permission to pivot. Exactly what you said before. Well, I put all this time, effort, energy, and money into what I thought I wanted. And instead of sticking to that, I'm giving myself permission to pivot. I don't have to keep doing that thing that wasn't working for me in whatever ways it wasn't working.
Yeah.
And so I think that that permission to pivot is a huge deal. Because I think we look for these like outside sources to give us the permission. And it's like, no, I don't want to do it anymore. And that's all I need to pivot. It's okay. While you quickly...
Right.
Well, I definitely have a fear of failure, but I think I have more of a fear of success.
Yeah. What if it did work out? It's the kind of like, because most people will default like, hey, hey, I can't send this DM. It's not going to work out. I can't put this post up. People are going to think this. Like, well, what if they don't think this? What if they think the opposite? And it's interesting you mentioned like permission. It's like we empower a lot of our clients to kind of make decisions for themselves, and like, you know, but then when it comes to doing it for yourself, it's almost like I can't give myself permission. Why can't I? Like, but it's very easy to give out the advice, but it's a lot harder to kind of take the advice as well, which is, you know, weird paradox, hard because we are the ones teaching people to do it, yet we aren't doing it ourselves. What were you going to say? Yeah, were you glazed over it? Sorry.
Well, you glazed over a suicide in the family and then getting bullied when you were younger. Do you feel like you are going to incorporate more personal content, or do you feel like that's not what you want to share?
I think it is. I think there was, for the longest time, I was almost like locked into this victim mentality, that I was born a victim, and you know my dad took his life. He couldn't felt that he could be like a good dad to me and my sister, and I was in and out of care system, and mum in prison, lots of drugs and all that kind of stuff. And there's part of me like I have to do it delicately, because I'm not here to bash anyone, to kind of like, hey, like, I don't want to bash any of my family. And the quickest way to lose authority is to kind of call out and talk negative about other people. It's not a leader or an authoritative person would do. Um, but it's kind of incorporating that in a way, but it's doing it with a message behind it to be like, no matter where you come from, no matter what you've been through, understand that you're still here and that doesn't define you. So there's always need to be a core message behind that and certain values that I'm living through right now. And for the longest time, I couldn't talk about that. And there's an example where I was in a very toxic relationship with like a business coach, and to the point where it was no word of a lie, there was the difference between him and my wife. Right, that was and I was swaying towards him at one point, which was a very hard thing. It's hard to talk about, even just accept. But I think time is a good healer, and it just makes you realize that everything like happens for a reason, and there's different reasons why things happen. But it's just that comfort, and it's talking about it in a way where you can share insights and lessons, not just saying like, "Oh, I was this, I've gone into therapy and all this kind of stuff." It's like, no, hey, I've been through what you probably may be thinking or you're about to go through. To let you know, hey, I'm just here if you need a hand to hold, but also to let you know that I'm through it, you can get through it as well. And here's the steps I took to get through it. Or here's the warning signs if you're going to hire a coach, don't look at this, this, this. There always needs to be something in it, because otherwise I don't want to be positioned as that person to be like, oh, like I feel so bad for you. Are you okay? Right? Because that's not going to attract that higher caliber of person that I want. But because there's lots of sob stories, but there's not anyone kind of being that. Well, not as many people as there should be, kind of speaking out the truth and be like, hey, you know, you can get through this. You will
So
get
your
through
real
this.
story is fascinating. Like, Josh,
Yeah.
that's a lot. Like, that is a
Well, it is,
lot.
right? And yeah,
How did
and it's taken.
losing your father to suicide, how did that shape you as a dad or the dad you are today?
But it's interesting because it only happened when I was young, like about a few months old. So as we were super young. But so that means that when I was put into kind of care, when my mum ran away with another man, we were put in. My sister and I were put into care with her friends, and then she kind of did it again, and we were put in care with our grandparents. So actually, I was raised from about like early teens, 11, 12, with my grandparents. So my granddad, being like a real kind of gentleman, he showed me how to work hard, how to respect women, and we got even told off. We wouldn't even say the word fart. It was that like we had to say pop. Right? I heard him swear like twice in
Right.
about like 7 years.
Right.
But it was very strict. We used to sit down for dinner, no elbows on the table. You could only get down when everyone had finished. So it was very like manner driven. But it was also they wanted me to succeed. So they're like, hey, we're going to get you into uni, and they fought hard. And I managed to go into uni, and they supported me way more than what I think my mum would have at the time, being like she was a mum raised on. My mum never worked. She was raised from this like welfare and all that kind of stuff. So we never really had much. We used to eat like tomato ketchup sandwiches. Most nights was tomato ketchup sandwiches, and lunch was often the same as well because we couldn't afford much more. And we'd get bullied for wearing like clothes that had rips in and that because we couldn't afford to buy a lot more as well. But it's just it shapes me in terms of like understanding that family is everything, and being raised by my grandparents because they were always there. They were that stability. They were always those people there when other people weren't, especially like my parents. I understand that kids need a lot of that in their life. They need consistency. They need routine. They need to kind of really know what's right and what's wrong. And so we really, as parents, try to like instill that into them. And they're still young. I mean, my daughter, she's just turned like what 8, 9 months, and my son, he was only just turned 2. So they're still very young, but we never got to travel when we were young. I never went abroad or anything like that. So just being able to take them, we know that just even sometimes they can't understand or comprehend what's going on, but the faces and the people and the colors and the shapes and everything, there's something inside like going on, which is quite fascinating to see, especially my son. We were just at a castle yesterday and he's running around and pointing at ice cream. He put on the saddest face, like, ice cream. And like, he didn't get it. It's like, um, but yeah, so it's beautiful to see, and that's part of why we're doing this. Just hopefully then we can look back and say, hey, look, we did this, and you might not remember much of it, but deep down, this is going to be a part of your childhood and what we're teaching you as well.
That is so beautiful. I love that. Oh my God. Well, thank you for sharing that with me. I know that's like a huge part of your backstory. And do you feel like it's something that you would share on YouTube more than like a social media so you can take more time with it? Are you
Um,
considering, are you writing a book? Like, that's a fascinating story.
Books, but I'd like to write a book at one point, but I think for me, it's about unlocking a lot of that. The issue, the common issue is especially is like when you push things so deep down, it's almost like a box that feels so deep down. So only now does it feel like it's coming to the surface in bits, but it's still, I've been going through like hypnotherapy and all this kind of stuff, still to try and unlock a bit of that because it almost you talk about like maybe misalignment, you always feel like something's off, or you're not really doing that pathway. And there's always, I kind of would liken it to like having some kind of like a poison or like a root. There's the deep root, and if everything comes from that, like a tree comes from a root. If that root isn't a good root, it's going to be a bad tree. But not a bad tree, but in the sense of there's no right or wrong, but it's not going to grow to its full potential and like spread out all its leaves and everything is what it should have done if maybe that was like a strong, healthy root. So it's understanding that it all starts with that. But like any root, you can't just say, hey, let's check the roots. They're deep down. Like they're like 10 foot and they're all over the place. So it's about trying to find those different parts. And I think that's the process. But I think sharing it to social media, I've started to do more of it. But again, I'm trying to be careful not to be very much like, I don't want to be a sob story. But again, it comes to the story. Not only one have I kind of changed my office and I've had the big team and now it's all family first, but it comes to a lot deeper than that. So with any kind of content, it's just about finding that balance, right? Because too much where you talk about you, people aren't going to come buy from you. Too much where you promote in your office, people you aren't going to. They're just going to think you're being salesy and sleazy. So it's about finding that balance with content. Who you are, what it is that you do. Those are the two things that I push in my content. Who are you? Values, beliefs, and what do you do? What kind of results do you get as well? Right? Most people overcomplicate content. That's basically what it is, right? So it's just getting those bits down. But I've shared a bit. I've shared a bit of it, but it's always trying to just empower people. I think that's why I'm trying to attract people who are empowered. They're ready for change. They want change, and they're not really. They are in that like empowered mindset. They're not stuck in the victim mindset because one thing I learned when you're creating content and you're speaking to problems, every single day you're reminding people of their problems. They don't want that. People want you, they want to see that you've got the answer. So it's like, hey, imagine, it's like, hey, oh, stuck not getting the leads that you want, not making the money you want, versus, hey, imagine waking up to an inbox full of people wanting to work with you, wanting to pay you 10,000 in full. Right? That's what would move. That gets you in people empowered because they're ready for growth. They're ready for change, not people who are stuck.
I love that. That was brilliant. So if somebody watched this and they're like, oh my God, I need to work with Josh. He is amazing. How do they get in touch with you now? Like, I know the offers changed. I know the community
Yeah.
is moving away from real estate into entrepreneurs. Do you
Yeah.
have a new Facebook group we can join to for free? Or like where are
Um,
we going next? Because I
to be honest,
think
like,
I tried to get into the real estate one, but I'm not in real estate
yeah,
because
no,
I just wanted to learn more from you.
to be honest, like I've really simplified. A big part of this is I've simplified a lot of things. So there's only I'm on Facebook, so I've got my public profile, which is like Joshua David Moore. I'm pretty sure there'll be like some links. I'm on TikTok, which is Ginger Marketer. I have my YouTube channel, which is Joshua Moore, Joshua David Moore. I can certainly link it, and then I simply have my email list, and I send the email out every day. I usually create 2 or 3 videos a week on YouTube, and usually about 2 or 3 posts a day on TikTok and Facebook. Usually take me about an hour today to do all of that. So there's many ways. I haven't got any Facebook, really, not any Facebook groups and that any at the moment. Facebook was just penalising me. I was like, what's the point? I just switched to email so I could just message people and then Messenger. So yeah, Facebook, TikTok, Ginger Marketer, and then
Okay.
on the other
I will
channel,
add all the links. I'll add all the links in
yeah,
the description. And then your newsletter I was getting for a while and then I stopped. So I'll start getting it again.
you start when
I
you
think I just
unsubscribed. Is that what you mean? Or did
I
I? Maybe it might have
unsubscribed for a
removed
minute,
you.
but to everybody, not just to
Yeah,
you,
yeah,
because I was starting to it was too many people I was subscribed to. Does that make
yeah, yeah,
sense? So I
yeah,
wanted to start from zero again and then put in quality and not quantity because I
yeah,
actually
yeah,
want to read the newsletter. I want to execute on what it is that people are offering in those newsletters. And I think when
yeah,
you
yeah.
get so many in the inbox, I wasn't reading them. Right? I
True.
wasn't
Yeah,
actually doing the thing. And I think that's a huge deal with clients too, is like No, like you're not hiring me to do it for you. We're coming up with a
Yeah,
concept, a program that works, and you actually still have to execute. I think that's what people don't understand
yeah,
about consultants and coaches. It's like, oh,
yeah.
great, I hired you, and you're going to do this for me. No, I'm not actually going to do it for you.
You could do it. But with my offer, you can. With my offer, you could do that. But you have to pay
Well,
me a lot more money. You have to pay me a lot more money than like $150 a week. So that's the beauty of it. Hey, if you want me to do it for you, you can do it. But you're gonna have to pay for it, right? Because that'll take a lot of time.
does take a lot of time, and you've already committed to your family. Thank you so much
Social
for doing
media.
this with me. I so appreciate you.